Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And if you're wondering where all this energy is coming from, well, maybe it's the cup of coffee, or maybe it's because NXT just puts me in the right kind of mood. What a wonderful show this was, notably because this show featured the in-ring debut of Hideo Itami, which was magnificent. I think that alone makes this one of my favorite episodes of NXT in quite some time. Ashton, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Normally with NXT, I just thoroughly enjoy the show, and I say, oh, it's amazing how perfectly they fit everything in this 1 hour. This week, I wanted more. I was like, come on, give them a half hour more. This isn't enough. I wanted more. It was great.
It really was. I loved how they dealt with a lot of the TakeOver Fatal 4-Way fallout.
Yep.
Again, the real highlight of the show for me, which I cannot wait to discuss in depth with you, Ashton, was Hideo Itami's debut. Really the only thing this show was lacking, and this is a fan nitpick, not even like a technical one, I wish we would have gotten an appearance from Tyler Breeze. Like, that was the only thing I really felt was missing from this show, at least for my personal yearnings. But other than that, this show was a great hour of television. NXT just continues to grow and grow in power, popularity, talent. Just on every front, it seems like NXT just keeps elevating itself, which is terrifying to think about because we already praise it as such a magnificent product as is, and yet these guys show no signs of slowing down. So with that said, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. And you've got to be kidding yourself if after that intro I have any heats of the night. So I'm going to pass it over to Ashton. Do you have any heats of the night tonight?
I don't have any heats of the night tonight, but I have one thing that I was disappointed. It's not even a nitpick. It's just a disappointment.
Okay, let's have it out.
Hideo Itami's finisher, the diving double foot stomp, could have looked amazing, but it looked really weak.
I have to agree.
Honestly, dude, it looked like he jumped and literally just landed beside Justin Gabriel rather than on top of him.
Right, so I don't know if the fault's more with Hideo or Justin.
Oh, no, I think it's because Hideo did that. The way he did it in Japan was so stiff, he probably got like a stern talking to in WWE, talking about how he can't be that stiff in WWE, and he went too far in the opposite direction.
Right. Which is why he's here. You know, he's working the kinks out and everything. To me, Ashton, it's a shame because, again, like, I guess we'll have more of an in-depth discussion later, but, like, it's not that I don't like the finisher. I think it can work well for him, but it's just his kicks are so powerful. I wish he would have had a different variation of how he uses his feet, you know? Like, it's a shame that Sami Zayn uses, like, the Yakuza kick in the corner, even though he does it brilliantly, because that's kind of what I had in mind for Hideo. But hopefully future executions of the move do look more brutal, because I do agree with you. From first impressions, there were other moves throughout the match that I thought looked far more devastating than the finish, so.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just a minor disappointment. It's not a huge deal. I'm sure that they'll tweak it in the future. So it's just one of those things where you only get a chance to make a first impression once. And his finisher looked kind of weak tonight. So hopefully that just doesn't continue. But regardless, it was still an amazing show. It was still an amazing match for the most part. And I have no actual heats of the night or even nitpicks.
Excellent. So with that said, let us get right into our NXT review, and we open this baby up with Titus O'Neil.
Titus O'Neil, man. He comes out and he says that these NXT kids want to come up to Raw and take his time away from him, so he's going to show up at NXT and take their time. And he holds up the show, and he talks about how he might even fall asleep. And he announces that the new name of this show will be NXTITUS. And he starts to spell it out with the crowd. And then you hear the best theme music in the WWE right now Worlds Apart by CFO Money, Sami Zayn's theme song, and he comes out to defend the honor of NXT.
Yeah, Sami Zayn pretty much verbally dresses down Titus O'Neil. Pretty much says that, he's not going to take this kind of crap talk from somebody who can't even, win a match to save his life.
Oh, yeah, because you have so much room to talk there, Sammy.
Yeah, after his bitter loss at NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. I mean, I still have images of the look on his face burned in my mind, and man, it's brutal. But yeah, Sami Zayn stepping up to defend the honor of NXT from Titus. But then we get another interruption from the champion. Adrian wins by controversy Neville, because his victory in NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way was apparently marred by moral questions of, did he do the right thing? Even though you'll hear all the time that a champion should do whatever it takes to retain their title. So Neville comes out and he pretty much says, well, Sammy, no disrespect, but if anybody is going to defend the honor of NXT, it is going to be me. And if anybody wants to step up to the plate and come here, then they're going to have to deal with me. And Sammy says, oh, well, why is that? Why can't I defend NXT? You mean you only get that honor solely because you're the NXT champion? And it seems like they're about to come to blows and implode. But then we get another interruption from Tyson Kidd, one of my favorite heels right now on the NXT roster.
On the entire roster.
Yeah, he's just... I mean, I call him Tyson Douche, and I say that with all the affection in the world, because he's just so great at being a jerk. Even his smile just oozes with jerkiness. It's perfect.
We're talking like borderline beef jerky at this point.
Exactly. Quality beef, my friend. Quality beef.
And it is glorious.
Indeed it is. So yeah, Tyson then comes out, and he pretty much says, well, I personally side with Titus. I mean, you guys are both losers. I mean, Sammy, you'll never be the NXT champion, and Adrian Neville, I think he pretty much just called him a loser and what have you. And every once so often, because the crowd was chanting fact, Tyson would acknowledge him, and he'd really quickly say, fact. So, I thought that was hilarious. And so, yeah, you see Tyson siding with Titus. You have Adrian and Sammy having their little squabble. Oh, another thing, Adrian Neville went as far with the personal verbal blows with Sami Zayn as to say, well, Sammy, if you're going to question how I won, and you're saying you wouldn't do the same thing, that's exactly why you'll never be NXT champion. Ooh, sick burn. So you see an implosion's on the horizon. But then William Regal interrupts, and I was really hoping for a Tyler Breeze interruption, but no, William Regal comes out instead, and he puts a stop to all this, Ashton.
Yeah, he basically pulls a Teddy Long at this point.
Yeah, he pretty much says, this is a competition, show. This is a show where we fight, not whine. So, he says, Titus, I appreciate, your ambition. I really commend it. So you are going to compete tonight. And he puts Titus and Tyson in one team and Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn in another team. Tag team main event. Again, as you said, Teddy Long style, like this is SmackDown for NXT. So we have our main event for the night, and that pretty much concludes the segment. So in this segment, we see that maybe Titus will have a bigger hand in NXT in the future, which I'll tentatively accept because NXT seems to be a magical place where careers come to be saved somewhat. And also that Adrian Neville, I don't know, he doesn't seem apologetic about what he did. He seems to embrace it wholeheartedly, and there seems to be, an underlying tension between the champion and his allegedly good friend Sami Zayn. So I think a lot got established in this segment.
Yeah. This whole segment really kind of showed me personally that Tyson Kidd might be the best talker out of these four, which is crazy.
I know, right? It blows my mind what a long way Tyson Kidd has come. But then again, to be fair, you have to wonder if it was really such a long walk, so to speak, because on the main roster, he never really got many chances to speak on the mic. But regardless, he's really shown something lately between his NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way, like pre-match promo where he was sitting with all the other competitors, and now this segment. Tyson's owning it, man. I mean, Jim Ross has repeatedly called him on multiple occasions the most underutilized talent in WWE. Well, I think he's found a perfect home in NXT, because if he was trying to do this on the main roster, he may get a match here and there, but he would so easily get lost in the shuffle with all the other acts going on, that it's so great that he has a place here where he's actually like in that main event tier. So
yeah, and it's working great. So Titus O'Neil, I don't know. I'm not into it yet, but it's NXT, so they might be able to rope me in.
I'm just getting concerned, Ashton, that maybe certain like undercard talents, like maybe they're trying to take advantage of the fact that NXT really is growing, and they say, well, hey, maybe if we just send these guys down to our facilities, because we see Titus May, and I do want to stress May, have a bigger hand in NXT proceedings in the future. And apparently on an episode of Total Divas, Cameron confessed to Naomi that she wants to go down to NXT and I guess kind of hone her craft. So I'm really tentative about both of these things, but I'm not going to rule them out yet, because again, NXT has proven in the past you can take chicken shit and maybe even turn it into chicken salad. So we'll see what happens, but fingers tightly crossed on both counts.
I don't even like chicken salad.
It's all right.
All right. So after we get this tag team main event set up, we go straight into our first match of the night, that being Charlotte, our NXT Women's Champion, versus Emma, returning to NXT for the first time in a couple months.
Oh, how I have missed her. It was so great to see her. I mean, I already knew going in that she was going to lose, because they have really gone out of their way to make Charlotte look strong, as they should. You know, she's the NXT Women's Champion. She's the person to beat right now. But I just want to thank the NXT crowd, too, for giving Emma such a wonderful reception, because she was immediately greeted with welcome back chants. I'm telling you, there are some moments on certain NXT shows where the crowd really feels like an ECW-esque crowd.
Yeah.
How they treat their talents that they're very protective of. It has really a familial atmosphere to it. You know, I really, really like that. So really good on the NXT fans. I will say, though, as much as it was great to see Emma again, there were a few hiccups I noticed in this match. Like there were some points where Emma seemed like she was trying to do certain things, and I don't know, there seemed like kind of a disconnect. Not like blatantly sloppy, but it seemed like, you know, there were a bit times where they had a few close calls to, you know, making some sort of botches. I personally noticed, but overall, a pretty solid match. You know, Emma had a nice comeback at one point where she got the Emma Mite sandwich. Looked like she may be on the verge of beating Charlotte at a couple of close calls, but ultimately Charlotte does beat Emma with her flipping cutter that she has renamed Natural Selection, which you noted on our live reactions, Ashton. You love the name change, as do I. It's not as much of a mouthful as Bow Down to the Queen, which is certainly a positive. And yeah, Charlotte does get the win after a nice opening contest.
You do realize that Natural Selection, even if you don't say natural selection, it's just natural selection, still has the exact same number of syllables as Bow Down to the Queen.
Really?
Bow down to the Queen. That's 5. Natural selection. Yeah, that's 5. It's 5. It's the same thing. It's just less words, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's what I mean. Like, less words. Anytime you can keep your finisher to, like, 2 words, 1 word, hell, letters. I mean, RKO.
Yeah.
I just think it always works better.
Attitude adjustment. John Cena's finisher is more wordy or more mouthy than Natural Selection or Bound Down to the Queen. Like,
yeah. But regardless, after that mini language.
Then again, a lot of the time they just call it the AA. So
I just feel like Natural Selection also works better because it fits more with, I guess, the commentary narrative about Charlotte. You know, the family line that she comes from, the Flair lineage, the genetics, all that.
That's like with freaking Paige. It somehow managed to go from the Scorpion Crosslock, which just sounds amazing, to the PTO. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But this is a change that I definitely felt like was for the better. But Charlotte does get the win, pretty decisive win. Again, they've really gone out of their way to make her look strong. Charlotte, though, is still an intriguing case because she was clearly the heel here, but she's like a heel who has her flashes of, like, babyface moments.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like she really hates everyone she works with, but she's kind of fond of the crowd.
Right. It's a really weird dynamic, but you know what? It's not one that I necessarily dislike, which surprises me because I feel like I'm more strict.
Yeah, I mean, normally we would just be like, pick a side and go with it, but not really in this case.
Yeah, because I don't really think it's become a detriment yet to Charlotte.
Right.
And I feel like it has nice moments, like a TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. Like, you could see that Bayley in the kayfabe context had earned Charlotte's respect.
Right.
She went to her defense against Sasha Banks, which is so great to think about Sasha Banks being in the NXT Women's Championship mix. But, you know...
And you know what I absolutely love?
What's that?
That they kept Charlotte and Sasha separate for at least this show. Even if they, like... I think ideally they would keep them separate for another month, maybe a month and a half before they kind of reintroduce Sasha, and it's like, oh crap, she's still around and she's never lost to Charlotte. What's going to happen now? And then they kind of build up to their big match in the probably going to be in December live special. But honestly, dude, I love it because it tells me that they are actually going to build for that. Because if they would have done Charlotte versus Sasha tonight and they would have been like, Sasha, you disrespected Bayley and she earned my respect, and so I had to do what I felt was right. And then Sasha's just like, since when did you become a goody-goody? And they start like getting back and forth, and then like boom, we have a match set up for next week or the following week or whenever. But no confrontation at all between the two, and I love that they kept them away from each other tonight.
Yeah, they kept them away from each other, and commentary though did make sure to emphasize, you know, what had happened at NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. So clearly they want it on our minds, even though they're not expressly going out of their way to, like, feature these two.
Take a note, WWE.
I know. NXT with their 1 to 2 writers is just, like, just trouncing everything else. So this was great. Again, Charlotte gets the win, and it was great to see Emma back. If they want to relegate Emma back to NXT, I mean, hell, I shouldn't even use that word. If they want to promote her back to NXT, that's fine with me, man. I mean, I'd be more than happy to see Emma in matches where she gets time and she's more prominently featured.
Yeah, I mean, really, dude, when you look back at this match, what will you remember? Because I personally will remember Emma hitting the Emma Mite sandwich and then frickin' Rich Brennan just calling it the Emma sandwich and me correcting him because he's a dumb mark. And Emma hitting a frickin' top rope crossbody onto Charlotte. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was. I'm telling you, NXT just knows how to treat talents. I mean, again, in a show where Adam Rose gets time, where on the main roster, his longest match may have been like, what, 2-3 minutes? Yeah, like, and that's being generous, I think.
And that was probably the match against Titus O'Neil this past couple weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, just great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I really, really love NXT for what they can do to talents that used to be on NXT, then got ruined by the main roster, and then by bringing them back down to NXT, you can return them to their former glory. I love it. So up next, after Charlotte defeats Emma, we have our Hideo Itami debut against Justin Gabriel. And really, before this match even gets out of the gate, Hideo Itami hits a huge kick to the face on Justin Gabriel, and it was amazing.
I popped so big for that.
Yeah, you did. That was the thing that you probably popped for the most in this match.
Yeah, because it was just so sudden. I mean, I'm going to say it right now. I am so happy that Brian has some competition in the kicks department. Because Brian does some vicious kicks, do not get me wrong. But Hideo, on 2 occasions, it was that one kick and then the boot to the face that he would nail later to Justin Gabriel, where I was like, good God, Justin's dead. Like, Hideo is just vicious. And hell, even Brian has said the same thing, so I know I'm not really being very critical of the man, because he's even said, no, if they think my kicks or something, wait till they see Kenta's, because he just destroys people. And I thought Justin Gabriel was the perfect opponent to debut for Hideo and to receive all this offense, because they're kind of similar styles, and I think Justin Gabriel sells that kind of offense very well. And Hideo just looked magnificent, and the crowd just received him. I mean, from the entrance, they were so receptive. He's going to be a fan favorite very quickly.
Yeah, I know, right, dude? I love that he is already getting over, and all it does is make me long for Devitt and Steen to debut sooner.
I know, right? Because that's the next question. When we look at the crop of NXT talent, because we've seen a lot of pictures, Ashton, floating around the internet, they're featured prominently, of Adrian Neville, Sami Zayn, Steen, Devitt, Kenta, just, you know, all standing together and saying, you know, the future is now, all these talents. Well, we've seen all these guys, but we have yet to see Fergal Devitt, as I'm sure they're gonna, I think that's how it works. Fergal Devitt and Kevin Steen, whatever his name is going to be, debut yet, and that's just a growing fascination for me because I thought Hideo had a very strong debut, but I'm wondering what they're gonna do with these two guys, and it'll come to a point that because of their namesakes alone, I'm sure a lot of people won't even care. They just want them to get here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we had our little agreement about the slight disappointment with the finisher of Hideo here with the double foot stomp. Mainly just the execution and not the fact that he chose that as a finisher in itself. But dude, his kicks are vicious. Oh yeah, and he also nailed a corner drop kick. That, oh my god, just everything.
Oh, that was another thing that was kind of botchy in this match. He hit a corner drop kick and then he went back to the other side, and it's like he didn't have like the ring awareness to know how, like the size. Like I don't know for sure if the size of Japanese rings are bigger or smaller, but they almost have to be in order for this to be a thing, because he was going over to the other turnbuckle and he like grabbed for it and it wasn't there, and then he had to like back into it properly, and it just really slowed it down a lot.
Right.
Did you notice that too, or was it just me?
No, I noticed that as well. But, that's why I'm so glad that they decided to send him to this system rather than just hotshotting him, because I never want another Sin Cara situation again as long as I live.
I know, right? And you know what? Here's the thing. I don't think he will, because I think he's too talented to. But even if Hideo Itami does fail for a few months in NXT, it's okay. We're not going to stop loving him, and it's just NXT. He's not going to really do any real damage to his character on NXT. And then once he gets everything straightened out, people are going to love him even more, because it's like you got to watch this guy fight from the bottom up. And they're not going to give up on him if he does fail for a couple months in NXT. This is freaking Kenta we're talking about, man. I love that they're giving him this opportunity, and I really think he's going to take it by the balls and do with it what he wants.
Oh, absolutely, Ashton. The beautiful thing about NXT is that I think Triple H and whatever the brain trust is, behind it, who he lets in that inner circle, who really has the influence and all that stuff, they're so committed to it. They haven't given up on projects like, Bo Dallas when he was still there, and CJ Parker even, and now they're working on, who we'll get to later, Baron Corbin. They're very protective of their projects, and if something doesn't work out, they go back to the drawing board. Yep. And the beautiful thing about Kenta is he's already coming in with so much natural talent and ability, so much credibility. And fanfare. Like, if they're not going to give up, and I'm not saying they should, but if they're not going to give up on like a Mojo Rawley, a CJ Parker, all that, they're sure as hell not going to give up on a guy like Kenta. And the thing about NXT is I've always considered it like, a college resort. Like, this is where you go before you go on to the next level.
Yeah.
And you and
But the difference is you get paid to learn.
Exactly. You get paid to learn, which is funny you mentioned that. I did read an article about NXT salaries recently, and they do get paid a nice amount considering where they are.
Don't they get like right around $50,000 a year, somewhere around there?
25 to 50 grand, depending on like where you are, I guess, in the talent stratum.
Yeah.
And then you and I are just kind of the people that just kind of observe the process, and kind of say, almost handing out grades of sorts. Like, well, this guy did good, but he can do this, or being extremely critical in the case of like a Bull Dempsey or what have you. But,
or like a freaking when Davey Richards was on NXT that one time.
Exactly. But I don't think even you and I, because we understand how this process works, we never really fully write a guy off. We always keep part of our minds open to the fact they can get better. And for Kenta, I'm already embracing him as is. So just imagine how crazy I'm going to be over him when he does improve. He's magnificent. Ashton earlier sent me a GIF of the kick to the face that I marked out for, and I haven't stopped watching it. I can't take my eyes away from it. Justin Gabriel will never be able to eat solid foods again. So this was a great debut. A few hiccups, but you know what? It's to be expected. Again, this is why he's here. I do expect him to enter a program with either Sami Zayn or Adrian Neville. I'd give it maybe 3 months, and we'll see him in a program like that already, because I don't think they want to really waste any time.
What do you mean by a program like that? A program like
what? Well, I mean, in the case of Neville, I mean a program like for the championship, and maybe if it is Zayn, like for contendership. So I'm talking like a major championship implications type program.
Okay, so basically after the Zayn-Neville match at the next live special, he'll probably be first in line to get a shot at it.
I certainly think so.
I think there might even be a strong possibility that we'll see him versus maybe like a guy like Tyler Breeze or Tyson Kidd, or even a multiple man match involving all of them at the next live special to determine number one contendership.
Yeah, I actually completely agree with you. I could definitely see that as a possibility, and I will say this.
That match would be so freaking good. Oh my god, I have butterflies just thinking about it.
Dude, between Breeze's like selling ability and everything else, and I will say this right now, I love Tyler Breeze, but I feel so bad for him because when I think about those kicks of Hideo, that face, that gorgeous face might just get rearranged to an extreme degree. So,
I want it now just because of this. I want to see Hideo Itami versus The Miz.
Yes! Yes! He wouldn't even be able to cover up. He would be just all over it.
He would literally reach up for his face, and then Hideo Itami would use his foot to make The Miz smack himself in the face.
Exactly. Oh, this guy is... Oh, my God. But to not really go down that rabbit hole any further after the match, because as we discussed in the beginning, he does beat Justin Gabriel off the double foot stop.
The Ascension appeared.
Yes, the Ascension does appear, and they put the boots to Hideo Itami, getting revenge after he embarrassed them at NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. And he does seem to try and come back, but it's quickly squandered thanks to Connor. He gets the jump on him, and then they both come together and they hit the Fall of Man on Hideo. I'm thinking maybe either a handicap match.
Dude, even before they hit the Fall of Man, can we just address how awesome Conor O'Brien's move was? It was like a double chicken wing face buster.
Yeah. It was almost like Beth Phoenix's old finisher, like the Glam Slam, except he didn't come down with Hideo. He just kind of threw him down.
Yeah, like, holy crap, that is his solo finisher for sure. If it wasn't before, it has to be now.
Exactly. And then again, that move really put Hideo down, and then the Ascension were just able to have their way with him after that. They got the Fall of Man.
Yeah, I mean, that was the move that kind of turned the tides for them because, like, he was beating the crap out of Victor there until Connor came in and hit that move.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. They really made Hideo look strong even in this because he went down swinging. Like, he wasn't submissive to it. I mean, He pretty much handled Justin Gabriel with ease for the most part, so he had some gas left in the tank, and he used it against them. It wasn't enough. So what I'm thinking is we're either going to see probably a handicap match down the road between Hideo and the Ascension, and maybe they'll just really make him look strong against two guys, or what I see is a more plausible possibility, maybe some six-man matches between Hideo and Lucha Dragons and the Ascension and just a third man who I can't even really think of.
Hey, maybe even Justin Gabriel at this rate.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he's like, you know what? I was really embarrassed. I want some comeuppance, and he joins the ranks at the Ascension.
Dude, Justin Gabriel versus Sin Cara in the same ring.
I know.
Oh my God, NXT is too good.
I know they're so good. It's criminal. Like it really is unfair at this point. But yeah, there are a couple avenues that NXT could go with this. None of which I think would be, averse. None of which I would really think I'd have a negative reception to. Maybe the handicap match would be a bit of a stretch, seeing as how Hideo. I don't know if I could buy him beating two guys like the Ascension. But six-man tags, I'd really be down with. So I hope they do go that route. Because Hideo and Lucha Dragons on the same team.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Lucha kicks. Lucha kicks. Lucha kicks.
My sentiments, exactly. So, Ash, do you have anything else you want to say about either this debut or the post-match beatdown?
No, I don't. Do you want to move on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, up next, we had CJ Parker entering the ring. He had some signs going on his Titantron that I didn't remember being on there before, but they probably were. Before the whole "there is no Planet B" thing, which is on there every week. But you know what though? He doesn't matter in this match. Who he was going against is what matters in this match. Baron Corbin. And let's take a second just to recognize how Goldberg-esque Baron Corbin has been so far.
Absolutely. I will tell you right now, one of the things that I love about Baron Corbin, and I hope they preserve it, because I even said this to you when we were watching NXT together, and I think this is of the utmost importance while this Baron Corbin push is in its infancy. They need to preserve the mystique about the character.
Oh, yeah.
Because he just has this allure of, like, this badass who just comes out, takes care of business, doesn't even believe in talking. Because you know what? He knows that his muscle and his power, that's a universal language. And I want them to run with that. If he needs to do promos, I don't know.
No promos. I want freaking Renee Young to walk up to him to interview him, and he just gives her a look and walks away. I don't want him talking at all.
I don't want him talking at all either, and I was going to say if WWE would have to, because I guess they feel there's a need to put everybody in the promo.
Give him a manager. I don't care.
I guess, but even the thing about Baron Corbin is I feel like even a manager would humanize him a bit too much. I just like the qualities that he's got going on, being this lone wolf of sorts. At least that's what he projects to me. But then again, this is only the second week, so to speak, you know, in the wake of TakeOver Fatal 4-Way, where he's getting this push.
His first words should be whatever he says after he wins the NXT title in 6 months.
Yeah, and dude, you know what? I know you said that seriously, but for those who think that it's a joke, I actually agree with Ashton. I could see Baron Corbin being a champion very quickly, and I think Baron Corbin is just another example of why my only, like, another fan nitpick I have with NXT as a whole is that there's no established mid-card title, because I would love to start Baron there just to really test the waters. Because I think he is one of the best finishers on the roster right now.
Yes.
It is sick. And Parker, I think, did get a little bit more offense than TakeOver Fatal 4-Way, but maybe it was like one right hand at best. So you do better than getting absolutely demolished, but not by much. Because, yeah, I mean, they're like, well, do you think CJ Parker's going to do better now that he knows what he's in for? Yeah, you could just cue the Dean Ambrose nope right there. Baron Corbin just runs roughshod over Parker here. I mean, absolutely destroys him. Gets the finisher again. I don't even know how you describe it, Ashton. I mean, do you think you could put his finisher into words? Didn't they give a name to it? I can't remember the name of it.
They did. It's called The End of Days.
End of Day. What do you think of that? Do you approve?
Oh, I absolutely approve. And now I want him to have Wade Barrett's old theme song.
Yeah, right?
I'll be your end of days. I want it.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? The only thing that kind of surprised me, I'm not saying this positively or negative, like his theme music, I expected him to come riding out in like a motorcycle, but I'm actually glad.
How great would that be, though? That should be, at the next live special, he should have an entrance on a freaking motorcycle.
I think he could pull it off, but there was something about him even just walking like ever so slowly, methodically to that ring. He basically just had this look of, oh, CJ, I am so sorry that they're putting you against me, but you know what I have to do. And I'm not going to just not do it just because it's you. Exactly. Like, it's so weird to me, because if you see the look on his face, and I don't say this insultingly, because please, dear God, I don't need Baron Corbin coming after me, but it's like a look of almost disinterest. Like, this is the best you offer me, NXT?
Yep.
All right. I'll give it to you. I mean, I'm paid by the hour, so.
Dude, it's amazing to me how many people are looking like within the next 3 to 6 months they could be challenging for and potentially winning the NXT championship.
I know.
You look at, even the guys that didn't get the job done at TakeOver 2 that could still do it. You have Tyler Breeze, Sami Zayn, and Tyson Kidd. Toss Titus O'Neil on top of that. Toss frickin' Hideo Itami on top of that, and I would even say, yeah, toss Baron Corbin into that pile. We have 6 guys, and I probably missed 1 or 2, but for now, we've got 6 guys that are legitimate challengers for the NXT Championship.
Dude, and you know what? Probably more to come, dependent on how Kevin Steen and Prince Devitt debut.
You know what? I like the idea that they'll both debut soon, but I would not be opposed to them debuting one at a time at each live special. Next live special, you debut Devitt, and then at the following live special, you don't even announce it, and you just have Steen come out and destroy somebody after a match is over.
Imagine if he destroyed Sami Zayn.
That's what I mean, though. Like, seriously, they could do that.
I want them to do that, Ashton, because I want them to give these talents their own spotlight like they did Kenta. I feel like they deserve that. That's why I'm almost glad that all three guys didn't debut at TakeOver Fatal 4-Way, because not that I wouldn't have popped for it and gone crazy alongside everybody else, but it would have diluted it. And I feel like these guys do deserve their own distinct moment away from everything else. But that aside, what I was getting ready to say to your point about the 6 contenders you just spouted off, you know that a promotion is strong. And look at us talking about NXT like it's distinct from WWE, but I'm just thinking alongside Triple H, who said he wants to turn NXT into WCW without the crash and burn part. And you know a promotion is strong when it has a crowded class of contenders for your world title that are legitimate.
Yep.
Because
even if 2 of the contenders are former main roster guys, well, maybe even current main roster guys, but definitely former.
Right, exactly. Because
they're refreshing in NXT. I love it.
Exactly. I mean, you and I had a discussion fairly recently, spouting off potential contenders for Brock Lesnar, and even though we did list some, it felt like so much more of a struggle, because we were wondering like how.
Well, yeah, that's also because we were trying to come up with guys who could go against Lesnar and be credible as a winner against him. That's more like you're not going to say anybody's name and be like, oh wow, they don't stand a chance against Adrian Neville. Just look at how physically imposing he is. You're not going to say that. That's
right.
Brock Lesnar, though, so that's really a different scenario entirely.
Right. But it just feels really good to talk about all these potential contenders and have that discussion seriously.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is the case here, because even a name like Titus O'Neil, after tonight, I mean, which we'll get to later, that name does enter the realm of plausibility. So NXT is just firing on all cylinders, man. And Baron Corbin, to bring it full circle, he is such a stud, and I will use that word because it seems apropos for him, that I think he's just going to run roughshod over everybody the next couple of months. And hopefully...
All right, John, here we go. Quick 10-second hot seat. Who is Baron Corbin's next opponent?
Oh, Jesus. I'm going to say Ty Dillinger.
Oh,
there.
I like it a lot. That's a good answer.
Yeah, that was literally just about the first name that comes to mind. I don't even know how I thought of him, but I did. Baron Corbin is money. Love the look. Again, I love the aura that he's kind of giving off right now, that mystique, that enigmatic personality. Please preserve it, WWE, because anytime that a character like that comes along, I always get the most nervous when a microphone is near their mouth or they're having that backstage segment that you think would necessitate speaking. Yep. And I hope that Baron Corbin isn't put in that position too soon, because I want us to build up that mystique. So hopefully NXT does not make that mistake. But
dude, honestly, now that you're talking about this, I feel like they did make that mistake with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns shouldn't be talking nearly as much as he has been.
I agree. That is a point where you and I certainly agree, because Roman Reigns, what they want to sell you about Roman Reigns is that he's a badass. Yeah. What kind of badass cuts long-winded promos? A true badass, to me, goes in and takes care of business.
He lets his actions do the speaking. That's what Baron Corbin's doing, and that's what Roman Reigns is failing to do.
Exactly, and that's why Baron Corbin, I think, is going to be a very hot attraction with the NXT crowd if he keeps acting like this. Now, again, hopefully, they don't make him so OP that it turns like a crowd against him, because I feel like even with Big E, I feel like even he struggled a little bit. I mean, hell, he lost the NXT Championship to Bo Dallas, for God's sakes, thanks to an exposed turnbuckle. So even he, knew when to lose eventually, as far as the NXT creative processes go. So it'll be interesting to see how strong Baron Corbin becomes as time progresses. But for right now, I'm enjoying the ride, if for no other reason. Again, it comes back to that finisher, which I think is one of the more unique finishers we've seen in quite some time. Just awesome.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I mean, you said that you were just watching that Hideo Itami kick to Justin Gabriel's face over and over. I've been sitting here watching Baron Corbin execute his finisher on CJ Parker for the last 5 to 10 minutes, just trying to figure out the physics of it. And I genuinely have to wonder if he's going to be able to execute that move on bigger competitors, because, I mean, CJ Parker isn't exactly small. He's in that 6'5" to 6'6" range. So he's one of the taller guys in NXT, but he's not that big from a bulk standpoint, from a weight standpoint. Would he be able to do this kind of move to, say, a Bull Dempsey, is my question.
That is always the question when a superstar, unveils a finisher of this kind of nature, which also makes you wonder, what else is Baron Corbin? What is he yet to show us? Does he have an alternative finisher for guys like Bull Dempsey, even if it's something like a really powerful boot to the face or something? So it'll be interesting. Again, as the quality of opponent for Baron Corbin gets upped, it'll be interesting to see how he reacts to those situations. So,
and that's another name that I forgot, Bull Dempsey. He could be a potential NXT Championship contender in the next few months.
Yeah, and I certainly think NXT has the same mindset that you do. That's another one of the more tentative ones, but you know what? I mean, Bull's destroyed Mojo Rawley, so he has those good graces going for him as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But yeah, Baron Corbin's development is going to be of great intrigue to me, so I'm very excited to see where all this goes.
Absolutely. So, are we finished talking about this segment?
Absolutely. We can move on.
All right. Up next, we are treated to some footage of Big Cass and Enzo Amore at the NXT Performance Center training until the hairdresser, Carmella, shows up. And she says that because of them, she got fired and that she wants a job. And they're just like, well, what do you want us to do? We can't get you a job. And she says, I want to be a fighter. And Enzo just kind of laughs at her thinking that she's tough. And then she tosses a freaking medicine ball into his stomach. And he is literally on the ground writhing in pain the rest of this video. And Carmella keeps trash talking, and Cass is just kind of like teasing Enzo, hovering over him, doing ridiculous commentary about how Enzo just went down and he stayed down, and it was just great.
I'm telling you, I think Enzo and Big Cass are just such wildly popular baby faces. It kind of surprised me because when I was looking at certain NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way reviews from like other wrestling fans, some weren't so receptive to Enzo's bits on the show. So I wonder if the gimmick for both Enzo and Big Cass does have its polarizing elements, because as far as I've seen, for the most part, it's been widely receptive on the parts of fans, and I think they are mega over as babyfaces. And now this introduction of Carmella, who I guess wants to be an NXT, women's competitor, which I thought was nice, because honestly, at first I thought they were going to try and go with the angle of, are Enzo and Big Cass going to get representation? Are they going to get a valet? But the idea that she wants to do her own thing, I think this is a creative, fun way to debut a new women's wrestler on the NXT roster, which is already intriguing given the division that we've got right now with the Charlottes as champion, the Baileys as like the babyface underdogs, strong contenders, and now Sasha Banks probably entering that mix soon. Now that Carmella may be in the same division, I'm curious to see what she can do, and I hope it doesn't bomb out.
Yeah. The fact that Carmella is being debuted this way as a wrestler, I freaking love it. Like, you used two of your most over baby faces to very subtly inject a third female character into the program, and now it was subtle before, and now they're slamming it in your face like, wait a minute, back up, stomp the brakes, she's a wrestler. I love it.
I love it too, because I'll be honest, as I'm sure you did as well, and many others, when they showed her at NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way, like the hype for it, getting ready for the hair versus hair match, I thought, okay, well, she's just a placement figure, like she works at the shop, whatever, and they just wanted somebody to bounce off of.
Apparently she was a pretty high profile signing last year. She's a former Laker girl, I guess, and
oh wow.
She signed to NXT in June last year, and she's been training with them ever since. Apparently, at the July 31st NXT TV tapings this year, she actually had a match with Natalya, but it was a dark match, so obviously we didn't get to see it. Her nickname is the Staten Island Princess. There are videos online of her versus Devin Taylor in a match on a live event show that obviously wouldn't be televised. So yeah, she's got some credentials. And here's my thing. Normally I would be like, oh God, they're pushing her into the spotlight way too early. She's only been doing it for a year. But then I realized, oh, wait a minute, Charlotte only wrestled for a year before they put her in the spotlight, and that worked out pretty freaking well.
Yeah, it did. I mean, sure, they have their discrepancies between them. I mean, Natalya, again, that wrestling family, or Charlotte, rather, that wrestling family lineage.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter, dude. She didn't ever wrestle before she came to WWE. Like, she was a freaking volleyball player. Like, just because she grew up around the business doesn't mean that she picked anything up and knew how to do anything.
Right. And the thing with Carmella, or the Staten Island Princess, and I do like that nickname. What makes me so confident? Because before I'd be so tentative, like you said that she was a former cheerleader for who? Like what did she used to do? That you said?
Oh, and by the way, apparently she is a second generation person too, because her father is Paul Van Dale, who worked in the WWF/E in the 90s.
Oh wow.
Aha!
But yeah, given her experience, like, working with a sports team, cheerleader and whatnot, it brings me. You said Lakers, that's right, that's what you said. It kind of brings me back to Layla, who used to do the same thing, and normally I'd be tentative about that, like, oh, one of those people is coming into our industry, but I thought Layla turned out incredibly well. I mean, part of one of the most popular factions in, the Divas division as far as the main roster was concerned with Lay Cool. So anybody
can. Thing. I thought you were going to say Extreme Expose, and I was going to call you out for it, but I'm glad you went with Lay Cool.
Of course, I didn't even really remember that she was a part of Extreme Expose, so that's one where you actually beat me out for a change as far as memory's concerned. And yeah, so I think as long as you have the commitment to it, as long as you hit the ground running, you hit it hard, you can really be something. So and again, Carmella's in the right place, even if she's bad, and even if you and I may crap all over it, we at least are mindful of the fact that she's in the place where you need to be to get better. And the fact that she's with these guys,
I know, right? Like, no matter how bad she is in the ring, it's not going to make her not over.
Right, and I will say this for her already. As far as personality goes, from the little interaction she's had with Enzo and Big Cass, I do like her on that front.
I will say this, though. Don't put her in the ring with Charlotte anytime soon.
No, you build that up. I mean, if you have any serious...
No, and I don't even mean it for that reason. I don't mean it for that reason. I mean because they're both inexperienced, and Charlotte can put on great matches with more experienced people when she's in the ring with them, and I imagine Carmelo is probably the same way, but you cannot put them in the ring together because it will be a frickin' disaster. Like Maxine versus Caitlyn levels of disaster.
Right. I mean, if you want to debut Carmella against anybody, I mean, my mind instantly goes to Alicia Fox, to be honest.
Sasha.
Or Sasha. That works too.
Or Becky Lynch.
Yeah. Just, somebody like that. But
although, really, if we're talking about debuting her and keeping her strong, I guess, yeah, probably Alicia Fox.
Yeah, I don't know why that name came to mind, but I just felt like it would be potentially a good fit.
The only reason I said Sasha Banks is because, in my mind, you don't need to have Carmella win her first match as an on-screen competitor. Have her pull the Rocky thing where she gets beat up and she has to build her way back up. That just makes sense to me. So for that purpose, I would say put her in there with Sasha Banks, let her get beat up for 5 minutes, and then Sasha wins, and all of a sudden Carmella has had her first match.
Actually, considering who she's associated with, that's pretty perfect, actually, Ashton.
Yeah.
I agree with you because, I mean, come on. We saw how Enzo won his match at NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. I mean, these aren't...
He still doesn't have any offensive maneuvers. He just punches people and won by a roll-up.
Like, the only guy who really is capable of winning matches dominantly and decisively in that group is Colin Cassidy. I mean, look at the man. So, it's not that much of a stretch. But, again, I think that fits the whole narrative about the group that she's with, because these guys are fighters. They're not really, like, dominant, imposing people. So it would keep that consistent, that she has to fight from the ground up, and she may have a few losses. But you know what? Take advantage of that. Like, every time you have a loss, maybe the next week, show footage of her progressing in the gym. Maybe lifting this amount of weight, and then, like, this amount of weight, and it just builds. And then finally we build to her winning, like a big match, maybe against somebody trash-talking her, like a Sasha Banks again or something, and she challenges her again, and this time she wins. You can make a real story of her losing that gives it a credibility in itself. So we could have a lot of fun with this. I'm excited.
I agree with everything you just said, except for the idea that she would come back and beat Sasha Banks. I cannot get behind that.
Well, just as a hypothetical, but I think just that first big win, regardless of who you want standing across from her, but we show that progression in the gym, and then it kind of shows itself in the ring, and then they have this ridiculous over-the-top celebration. Like, yeah, I won't imagine Enzo's just going crazy, and it's just a good time.
You won! You won! Carmella, you won! Yeah, that would be...
You're finally like cottonelle tissue in the sense that you're on a roll. Yeah! Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness. All right, let's move on. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay, up next was our main event of the evening. Titus O'Neil and Tyson Kidd versus Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville. And this match was great, but let's be honest with ourselves, Sami and Adrian stole the show.
Oh, absolutely. I don't even really think that's really even a contentious point. I think the best thing they did in this match, because I know I was talking with my friend James, who ended up watching the NXT episode, much later after it aired, is that they planted the seeds very early on that there could be like a betrayal or some kind of twist, because they were stealing tags from each other and they were playing a game of one-upsmanship. Like, oh, Sami, you did this. Well, watch me do just like this standing, twisting corkscrew moonsault or something. Oh, well, Adrian, you did that. Watch me kick this guy in the face. And they were trying to, top each other. And then you'd think, oh, they're establishing the tension early.
Yeah.
Are either Adrian or Sami, are they just going to abandon the other in the closing moments of the match? So that was left in the back of your mind, that anticipation. Because I remember even James telling me, oh, I'm calling it right now, Adrian is abandoning Sami. But they were able to check their egos long enough at the door to work as a team, but even doing that just wasn't enough in this match.
Right. Yeah, and I think that it's great that they actually kept the heels looking strong in this. But, dude, first of all, Sami Zayn being all, like, edgy and not even edgy, just smarmy, and, like, kind of being douchey a little bit, but still getting away with it because he's so charming, like Eddie Guerrero levels of charm. I love it. Like, he did a standing moonsault, which is one of Adrian Neville's things that he does in almost every match in this match. And then he just, like, looked at Neville and he was like, yeah, you're going to top that? And then next thing you know, Adrian Neville gets tagged in and he does a standing corkscrew moonsault.
It was amazing. And you know what? I also have to really give credit in this match. The other biggest star in this match besides Adrian and Sami, the NXT crowd. Because, yeah, the heels work tremendously, and I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but the crowd played along with this just so perfectly because they egged him on. When Sami did that moonsault, when he stole Adrian Neville's maneuver, they actually chanted better than Neville, or it was better than Adrian, but one way or the other, they were saying, yeah, Sami did it better than you, and they were really egging on Neville. This crowd seemed very pro-Zayn to me. I don't think Adrian Neville got any sympathy from them.
Yep.
And they were egging him on. That's why I even said to you as like an aside at one point when we were watching this together, my God, this crowd, even if Neville doesn't show it like explicitly in the context of this match, they're turning him heel because they were just so pro Sami. They were really sticking it to Neville. It made for such a great story throughout the match that really made me question, is Adrian just going to abandon Sami? Because we even joked a little while back about Sami's history in tag team matches and working with other people. Like, is that going to blow up in his face? And yeah, it just really set up for a great story. And even in the end, like, you can't even blame either guy. Like, yeah, Sami got a little ahead of himself trying to take care of the heel opposition, and the referee had to, push Sami back, so he was distracted. So when Adrian was going for the red arrow, Titus was able to get away with pushing him off, and of course, Tyson got the knees up and got the pin. But it wasn't even like one of these guys really tried to royally screw the other out of the victory. It was just like, Sami got hot-headed. Like, it's nice character growth because he's normally so passive and so, go along to get along, that it's nice to see him, as you said earlier, Ashton, being smarmy, being more resistant, being like, you know what? I'm sick of this crap. I'm going to take matters into my own hands. Really refreshing.
Yeah. This whole match was really fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a great time with this. I loved the reaction of certain people, like, after the fact, like, Titus won a freaking match. And yeah, he did. Titus and Tyson, man, got the victory. I have to also credit this tag match. They really minimized Titus's presence in this match, and when he had it, it was just for that pure power offense that didn't make him look bad. They really gave the prolonged exposure on the heel side to Tyson Kidd, which was very smart booking. So yeah, it really left me enjoying just this tag match as a whole and not even griping about, oh man, Titus has been in there for way too long, because I think he played his role as the powerhouse / blocker to the babyface side perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. That's all that he needed to do, and he did it.
Exactly. So really commendable on, the booking side of this. And yeah, even in the post-match, as Titus and Tyson are celebrating, and Tyson's just smiling up a storm like, don't get the big guy mad, don't get the big guy mad. You see Sammy and Adrian, arguing amongst themselves. You think, are they going to come to blows? Is Neville just going to leave Sami Zayn alone with his own thoughts? But didn't seem to be like that. We closed with them, being a bit argumentative, but at the end of the day, I think they somewhat squashed it anyway. This is definitely one of the more intriguing stories that's going to develop in later weeks.
Oh, absolutely. It's got a lot of potential to really unfold in many different directions. You just can't know. This could end up, Titus O'Neil is going to get his NXT championship shot. I have no doubt in my mind about that. If Brodus Clay got 1 or 2, maybe even 3, I don't remember, Titus O'Neil is going to get at least 1. He's not going to win it, but he's going to get his shot. And I love that they are consistently doing this to kind of stall the NXT title picture. They bring down a random former main roster guy who hasn't been getting TV time, and they give him an opportunity on NXT just to kind of refresh his character. He's obviously not going to win the title. And in the meantime, you build up your planned opponent for the title, for the championship at the next pay-per-view at the same time. I love it. It's working so well. And let's just take a second to really appreciate the fact that our NXT champion tonight got pinned.
Yeah.
They're going out of their way that far to protect Sami Zayn that Neville got pinned.
Definitely. And what's so great about that is it is a big deal, because NXT has also done a phenomenal job of making Adrian Neville, especially when it's clutch time and the title's up for grabs, looking like a strong champion. Again, I think a lot of people, myself included, even though Puitova made the last-second decision to say, you know what, he's going to retain, thinking that Adrian Neville's, championship reign, it was going to come to an end. But what I love about NXT, just as a quick aside, Ashton, is that for all of their champions, even Charlotte, who I thought was going to drop the championship early just for all championships considered, NXT goes out of their way to make every champion in one form or another a strong champion. I have to honestly say that there isn't a championship on the NXT roster that I consider particularly weak. I think they really do give their champions the due respect. That's why when they have moments like this, hiccups like this, where they do get pinned in a non-title environment, this being a tag match, it does mean something, because you think, holy crap, the champion just got pinned. They're beatable. And I love that mentality about NXT. I wish the main roster had that mentality when it comes to their more like their mid-card champions, so to speak. It works wonders.
Absolutely. It's something that I think WWE as a main roster needs to take some hints on.
Right, because it makes, when there's a title change, or there's just even a big title match where you think that the champion's going to lose it, again, as was the case with TakeOver Fatal 4-Way, when you consider the opposition that Adrian Neville himself, he put himself in front of that opposition. Sami Zayn, Tyson Kidd, Tyler Breeze. Those are 3 credible guys, and he still comes out on top. NXT is pretty much saying, yeah, our champions, when you beat them, it means something. And I think it has pretty much from the very beginning in one form or another, because even if they haven't had the longest reigns or this, that, or the other, even when Big E lost the title, to Bo Dallas, it was Big E who was destroying everybody at the time. So yeah, I don't think NXT has ever had a weak period in terms of championship representation, at least for as long as I've personally been watching. So yeah, I love it. I love how they treat their champions. It makes moments like this actually matter, rather than you and I just kind of, blithely just commenting on it and then throwing it away. It really works out, because now you
Dude, this is the first time Adrian Neville's been pinned since January.
Yeah. Because wait, wasn't he pinned a little bit before that, though, in a tag match for NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way? Didn't, Tyson Kidd or somebody pin Neville there, too?
I don't think it was Neville that ate the pin, was it?
I thought it was, but maybe.
You know what? You might be right. I don't know. I'm thinking singles. He hasn't been beaten in singles since then, so yeah, it wouldn't have mattered tonight anyway. But regardless, that's just a good idea of how well protected he's been.
Absolutely, yeah. Regardless, it doesn't change the fact that it is a huge deal. In fact, anymore, when a guy like Neville gets pinned, I almost have to do a double take, like Undertaker style. Like, wait, did that just happen? they're just so protective, and they treat their champions with such dignity in that respect. Love that mentality. And now, Tyson Kidd, both him and Titus, because again, it was a tag match, have claims to, hey, Neville, we're knocking on your door. We want another shot. And I love that they're keeping Tyson Kidd fresh in this picture, because I did kind of worry after TakeOver Fatal 4-Way, well, what is he going to do now? I mean, I postulated potentially a program with Hideo Itami, which could still happen. I'd love to see those two come to blows.
Right.
But just love that they're just so protective and they're keeping all these guys relevant. NXT, I love you. Just so wonderful.
Yeah, it's great.
So, with that said, do you have anything else you want to say about this main event before we move on to our next segment?
No, I don't. Let's move on.
All right, next segment, high spots and low shots. And I gotta say, my low shot, I do think I'll say, is Adrian Neville. He, I think, was more wrapped up in trying to outdo Sami Zayn. I mean, him and Sami were having their little, pissing contest, like who's better than who, trying to
They were having a peeing race.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think their individual egos clashed one too many times. Sami got a little overzealous. It allowed the back door to be open for Neville's offense to be thwarted, and he was the one who ate the pin. He's the NXT champion, just freshly coming off of a successful title defense. So to be pinned by a guy that's been nipping at your heels for quite a few months now is not good, because again, it keeps Tyson fresh in the picture, and Titus, because he opened the window. He clearly has a legitimate claim as well. So the class of contenders just becomes more crowded. Not a good time for the NXT champion. He may have the gold now, but anytime there's a defense, that always comes into question. So yeah, the man that Gravity forgot, I think Gravity's finally tugging at his heels a little bit.
I don't know about that.
We'll see, man. We'll see. So who's your low shot?
Man, I think my low shot's gonna be Justin Gabriel, because he just got his mouth destroyed and his face and his body by Hideo Itami.
Yeah, him and Solids are gonna have a pretty contentious relationship going forward after that match.
Probably.
It was, I was considering going with Justin, but I'm glad you did. I'm glad one of us did, because yeah, that debut was magnificent. In fact, along that same line, I will say that I think my high spot is going to be Hideo Itami. Despite the fact that, yeah, he did get beat up by the Ascension afterwards, he had to fight off two guys. And he actually was successfully until, Connor came in and he just planted him into the canvas. But he still gave quite an effort. And that debut, though, that preceded it was just wonderful. Despite the hiccups that we addressed earlier, I think he is going to be, if he isn't already with the way he was received in that debut, a huge fan favorite. I think he'll be in serious conversations about NXT Championship contendership faster than you can blink an eye. And yeah, he is going to be one hot prospect. I'm very excited to see where he goes in the coming months. So for now, he is my high spot. Just a wonderful night, considering all the implications of it. So
yeah. My high spot is Baron Corbin. Pretty obvious reasons. He had a very dominant performance tonight, but I think that the biggest reason that he's my high spot is because the way they've been building him, he is going to be he's the next Big E in NXT. And yeah. I don't think that the WWE main roster will drop the ball with him when he gets up to there like they did with Big E. So I think that this dude just has a very bright future. Basically everything that we've said about Colin Cassidy's future, you can mimic that for Baron Corbin, if not more, because Baron Corbin has like the more menacing look to him.
He does. I think he may edge out Colin Cassidy just a little bit in that regard.
Yeah.
As far as having that kind of potentiality, because.
And you know what's great, dude?
What's that?
A few years ago, I remember watching a video on YouTube, and it was one of the regular YWC guys. I'm not going to throw out any names. I don't even remember who it was exactly. And it was a video, and he was asking where all of the giants have gone. And I threw out names like Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, and I might have even mentioned Baron Corbin. I don't know or not. I know. You know what? I didn't say Baron Corbin, but I did say Colin Cassidy, because I don't think Baron Corbin was really a known guy by then. But now at this point, I mean, look at NXT. We've got Colin Cassidy, we've got Baron Corbin, but then on top of that, look at the main roster. You've got Harper, you've got Rowan, there aren't a ton of really huge, like 7-footers, but I think that 6'8" and above is pretty close to giant.
Absolutely. No, Baron Corbin, I love the word that you used just a little bit ago, menacing. It's just so appropriate. That's the quality that he has. That's just how he looks. Like, when I look at Baron Corbin, if I was to meet that guy in a dark alley, in a bar, anywhere, and he shot me a glance, yeah, I just give him everything, no questions asked.
You'd probably pee yourself first, but then...
Yeah, I'd pee myself first, empty the wallets, and then I'd plead against my life. Just leave all my teeth in my mouth. I don't want to see them on the outside on the floor. I'm quite happy with my dental plan. This guy is just a monster. And again, that finisher, though, and what I love about the finisher and just his whole packaging, he ragdolls people. Like it's just like, boom, get in there, dominate, get out. And I agree with you. He should never cut promos. If you have to, get a manager. But as I said earlier when we were discussing his independent segment, his match with CJ Parker, I'm even against that. I don't want this guy humanized in any respect. I love, again, to steal Ashton's word again, that menacing quality, that enigmatic approach, like, who is Baron Corbin? And all we know now is he's a guy who's a destroyer. So I think he's an excellent choice for a high spot, Ashton. I commend you for picking him. His development is again one of those stories, and I'm going to be intrigued to see play out. NXT has got so much going on that just got me so gripped. Once again, just proving to be the dominant program on WWE right now.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, so with those closing sentiments, guys, if Ashton has nothing else to say, neither do I. This has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Discuss all things NXT on Tweetoff. And we will see you again for our Night of Champions preview and predictions video. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk Brock Lesnar, Cena too. Sure to be a fun discussion. And, of course, the always can't miss pay-per-view live reactions. Night of Champions 2014 live reactions will be coming at you Sunday night, which will also count as our personal review. Cannot wait for it. Cannot wait to see Brock Lesnar manhandle John Cena again. So you will see us for those. And then, of course, Monday will be our Monday Night Raw TWitWoW review. So a lot coming at you guys. We'll see you then.